Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
How is everybody doing?
Good. Good.
Hafiz ibn Kathir in Qasas al-Anbiya have mentioned about these prophets. So those are the prophets we'll talk about today. Starting with the prophet Shiya bin Amsiya. That's one of the prophets that's mentioned in the Old Testament, and Hafiz ibn Kathir have reported on them. So Shiya bin Amsiya. Let me go back to speaker mode. I don't know why it's switching. Okay, here it is. Okay, cool. So Shiya bin Amsiya was born at the time when children of Israel were in a very good shape. They have been ruled by a king by the name of Hizkiah. And he was a very, very pious king, very, very nice king, and everything used to run perfectly fine in his kingdom. And people were started to follow him. But at the same time, there were some people in the same kingdom who are not following the principles of Islam. And slowly and gradually, their numbers were increasing. And the king Hizkiah was getting older and older. And then there came a time when King Hizkiah fell sick. And he called upon the prophet Shiya bin Amsiya that make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and tell me if I will die in the sickness. And what will happen to the people after me? And then when the conversation was going on, a messenger reached the king and said, the king of Babylon is marching towards, and this is placed in where you have present-day Palestine area, Jordan area. That's where this king was, Hizkiah. And the Babylonians were in Iraq. So the messenger said that the army from the Babylon is marching towards you, and sooner or later they will approach this place, and they are humongous in number, and you will all be destroyed. You have a question, Eliza?
No, but in school we're learning about Babylonia and Babylon's.
Oh, okay. Okay. So this particular king then asked the Shia that make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that how can we be saved with these people? So Shiya said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, Hizkiah, the king, that you will live for another several years, and this army will never reach Babylon, will never reach Palestine or Elia, which was their capital at that time. So what happened was that this army, this massive army that was marching from Babylon, they were hit by some kind of epidemic or pandemic, some kind of stuff happened to them, and majority of the soldiers died on the way. At one point in time, only 5 people were left along with the king. So when that news reached the Palestine, the Hizkiah ordered his army to go to that spot and capture these 5 people and bring them over. So the Babylonian king and the 4 other soldiers that were with him were brought to Elia, and then they were made, they were made to see this whole kingdom, and they were humiliated also at the same time, and they were fed at the same time. The king just wanted them to realize that they were making a mistake marching towards this place and attacking, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them. And among these soldiers was another man by the name of Bukht Nasr. At this time, he's just a soldier. He's just an army man. So all these people were then asked to be left alone and were to let go to their own country, because the Prophet Shiya said to the king that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered that these guys be released so that they can go back to Babylon and tell their people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given his blessings to his followers, and we should not attack his followers. So these people came back, and the Babylonian king lived for a few years, then he died. On the other hand, in Elia, the king died after X number of years, and another king came in his place. That king was very, very cruel and very, very bad. And this king would actually support the people who are not following Islam. And he was their big support. So the Prophet Shiya alayhi salam then approached the king and said, you should not do this. You should stop spreading this sinful life. So what king did, he ordered that Shiya alayhi salam be killed. So Shiya alayhi salam left the court and he went in the jungle. And the army went after him, and they finally captured him and they killed Shiya alayhi salam. So Shiya alayhi salam died, and after that, Armiya alayhi salam was ordered to go to the children of Israel and approach the king and ask them to stop doing the evil acts. Armiya alayhi salam approached the king, approached the people of the land. Again, they opposed him. So Armiya bin Halqiya alayhi salam then said to the people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told me that soon a very massive army will come and attack you guys and will destroy you and will enslave you. You will be put in chains. Your soldiers will be killed. Your men, your women, your children will be chained, will be imprisoned, will be turned into slaves if you do not leave the way of sinning. And they did not listen to Armiya bin Halqiya. And they rather ordered that Armiya bin Halqiya be put in jail. At this time, Babylon is being ruled by Bakht Nasr. Now, Bakht Nasr, he decided to take the revenge of the humiliation he faced several years ago when he was left in that army as one of the 5 men. So he decided to attack. So he gathered this massive army, which started marching towards Elia. And in the beginning, the children of Israel decided to fight with this massive army inside their forts. But when the days were going on, increasing, and then they could not resist this anymore, they opened their gates, hoping that the king will enter and will forgive them. The king did enter, and one narration says that the king said, okay, if you pay me so and so much money, I will leave somebody from my kingdom that will be your ruler, and I will go and I will not kill you. So they said, okay, we agree to that. So they gave him X amount of money, and they said, we will give you this amount of money every year, and you can have somebody from your kingdom be left here to rule. But when the king was halfway through, he heard that the person that he left behind to rule these people is being humiliated and is being replaced. So then he turned back and he attacked. This time when he attacked, he destroyed the cities. He burned the buildings. He killed the soldiers. He killed anybody that came in his way. He even destroyed the places of worship. He burned the holy books. And close to 90,000 people were put in chains. 90,000 people were put in chains. And these people were then taken to Babylon to be used as slaves or to be used as prisoners of war. So when Bakht Nasr was marching back, somebody told him that this particular man by the name of Armiya bin Halqiya was warning them of an attack, but they never listened to him. So Bakht Nasr asked then, okay, what did they do with him then? They said, well, he was put in jail. So Bakht Nasr asked for Armiya to be brought back from jail outside. So when Armiya came out, the Bakht Nasr asked him, were you their warner? And he said, yes, because I'm the prophet of God, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered these people to not sin and listen to him and stop the ways of sinning, but these people never listen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As a result, I warn them that if you keep doing this, all these blessings that you have will be gone. And they called me a liar and they put me in jail. Now that you have arrived, whatever I said is not true. So, somebody had their microphone on. Okay. So, what happened after that was that Bakht Nasr then asked Armiya bin Halqiya that, why don't you follow me? You are a wise man. Maybe I can benefit from you and I will protect you. And Armiya said, I don't need you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is my protector, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect me. He has protected me always. I do not need your protection. So Bukhtasar said, you are a fine man. I will not harm you. I will rather leave you behind in Elia. And a handful of people were also left behind. Most of them were disabled people. And then Bukhtasar walked out of Elia with massive number of people imprisoned. Some of these people fled to Egypt, and Bukhtasar wrote the letter to the king of Egypt that you are not supposed to keep these guys in your country, rather return them back to me. And the king of Egypt refused to return them back to Bukhtasar. So Bukhtasar attacked Egypt because he was very close to Egypt. He was in Elia already. So he attacked Egypt and he took these people with him and he defeated the Egyptian army. So when Bukhtasar returned back with all these people, and they were all in the slave life, at that time Armiya alayhi salam was in Elia with a handful of people, and those handful of people said to Armiya alayhi salam that ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us because we never listened to you. And Armiya alayhi salam said, okay, I'll make dua to Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that these people are still lying. They are not sorry for their previous actions. And Armiya alayhi salam said, well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that the only way that you could be forgiven is if you can stay back in Elia and rebuild it. And they're like, no, we will not going to rebuild this. This is a destroyed land. And they started fleeing away from this to other places. So some of them went to Yathrib, some of them went to Isaba, like other parts of the world. But they did not stay back with Armiya alayhi salam, who stayed back in Elia. When these people were in imprisonment, another prophet was given to them so that they are guided while they were in Babylon. And the name of that prophet was Prophet Danial alayhi salam. In English, you call him Daniel. So Prophet Danial alayhi salam was with them when they were living their life in imprisonment. So that's why when Muslim army and in the times of Umar radiallahu anhu, they conquered the Persian Empire, they found some remains or some things of Danial alayhi salam, and they wrote about it to Umar radiallahu anhu, and some of that stuff was translated to Arabic with the help of Ka'b Ahbar, who knew the language. But there aren't very many details available as to what happened to some of the other remains. Some of the companions actually buried those remains in other parts, so it just nobody can find them, kind of a deal. So that Daniel alayhi salam, we don't really know much about it except for the fact that once Bukhtasar put Daniel alayhi salam in a place with two lions, hoping that the lions will kill him. But on the contrary, the lion, instead of killing him, were sitting with him like a tame dog and were respecting him. And that was his miracle. So anyway, Daniel alayhi salam was their prophet, the children of Israel's prophet, while they were living like that for 70 years. And by the time after the 70 years period was over, then the next king that came in power, he let him go. So they came back to Jerusalem. They rebuilt the Jerusalem. And Jerusalem, once again, was a living place. And that's when Uzair alayhi salam, that I told you about, came back from his sleep after 100 years. That's when Jerusalem was back to life. And then when Jerusalem was back to life and people were started to live there and flourish there, they started worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wholeheartedly without sinning. But again, a decline started coming into them. And they started losing their ways, and they started going in different directions. Because usually when people are not thankful, they sin. They think that whatever they have will never go away. And they openly sin, thinking that they don't have to give answers to anybody. During these times, Zakriya alayhi salam came to them as a prophet. And Zakriya alayhi salam started telling them the right from wrong. They would listen to Zakriya alayhi salam, they would respect Zakriya alayhi salam, but at the same time, they were a bit arrogant too. And these were the times then when Zakriya alayhi salam's wife family had a daughter who was born, and her name was Maryam. And then her wife's side's family approached Zakriya alayhi salam and said, well, when this baby was about to be born, her mom thought that this would be a boy, so she will dedicate him to the service of the temple. But this is a girl. How can a girl serve the temple? And Zakriya alayhi salam then approached the chiefs of that time, who then decided that, okay, we will try to figure out a way to make sure that this girl can actually serve the temple as well and could stay. And then Maryam alayhi salam was eventually given to Zakriya alayhi salam to take care of her, because he was the relative of Maryam alayhi salam. So she was given a special room where she would live and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Zakriya alayhi salam was the only one who could visit her. And one day Zakriya alayhi salam visited her, and Maryam alayhi salam was eating fruits. And the fruits that she was eating were out of season. So Zakriya alayhi salam asked Maryam that, Anna laki hadha, where did you get these from? And she said, Allah gave it to me. So Zakriya alayhi salam right away thought that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave her fruits out of season. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can also, of course, grant me a child, because I don't have a child. And I am worried that when I pass away, who will lead the children of Israel in terms of their religion? Because they are going this route of sinning. So Zakriya alayhi salam made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hunalika da'a Zakriya. And Zakriya alayhi salam made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and an angel came to Zakriya alayhi salam and said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you a son. His name will be Yahya. And Zakriya alayhi salam said, well, I'm an old man and my wife is an old woman. And the angel said, that's not your problem. You don't worry about any of that stuff. Then he said, okay, is there any sign for this child? Because children of Israel always look for signs when things happen out of norm. And the angel said, yes, you won't be able to speak for 3 days and 3 nights. After that, you will be able to speak back again. So Zakriya alayhi salam came out of his place of worship, which was his mihrab, and he ordered the children of Israel, the priests and everybody who was in the temple, that make lots of dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do a lot of tasbihat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he remained for 3 days and 3 nights that he couldn't speak, and that was the sign. And then the Yahya alayhi salam was born. Yahya alayhi salam, right from the beginning, was a very, very quiet boy, very different from the other people. And he wouldn't even hang out and play with other kids. Right from the beginning, he had a different thought process. When his friends would ask him, or the people in the neighborhood ask him, why don't you come out and play with us? And his response was, we have not been created to play around and waste time. We have been created to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's where I am putting all my energy. As a child, he was like that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's why addresses him very differently in Surah Maryam, and talks about that right from the beginning, Yahya alayhi salam was very, very different from the rest of the people. Because right at the beginning, right from the beginning, his thought process was like that. Anyway, this is where we will, inshallah, talk about Yahya alayhi salam a little bit more. And then we will transition into the life of Maryam alayhi salam. And from there, we'll transition into Isa alayhi salam. So we will going to keep that for our next time. Yahya alayhi salam, Maryam alayhi salam, and Isa alayhi salam. Now, does anybody has any questions? Okay, go ahead, Sakina.
When you were talking about Omar, did you mean like Omar bin Khattab?
Yes, yes. Umar bin al-Khattab
Okay.
radiallahu anhu, during his times when the Persian Empire was conquered, some of the relics of Danial alayhi salam was found. Some of his writings were found. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Good. Alex.
Why did the why did Prophet Zakriya wanted to have kids?
The Prophet Zakriya alayhi salam wanted to have a child so that the child could be a prophet. And after he passes away, there is somebody to lead the children of Israel, who were the Muslims of that time, in the religion, because they were not doing that good in religion. So he wanted somebody from his family to come forward and take lead.
Thank you.
Mhm. So Yahya alayhi salam was born when Zakriya alayhi salam was very old. Yeah. Anybody else has any questions? So today we talked about many prophets. Okay, we're gonna. Oh, we have two more people. Okay, so we have Muhammad. You have a question? Okay.
Didn't only Maryam alayhi salam have to not speak for 3 days and 3 nights?
No. That is Zakriya alayhi salam could not speak for 3 days and 3 nights.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a sign for the children of Israel that after that sign, Yahya alayhi salam was born. Okay. Yeah, Eliza, go ahead.
If a prophet were to have a son, would the son automatically become a prophet?
No, not
Oh.
necessarily. He wanted a son who will be a prophet. That was basically the thing.
Oh.
So yeah, that's because he was concerned about the ummah. That was his main concern. What will become of them? Because if there's nobody to lead them in religious affairs, then they probably could go the sin way, and then they could find themselves in hellfire. So he just wanted them to have somebody to guide them. That's it. So yeah. So it is Yahya alayhi salam, which in English is called John. Zakriya. Yeah. So we talked about Shiya alayhi salam today. Which of the prophets did we talk about? Shiya bin Amsiya is one of the prophets we talked about. Does anybody remembers? We talked about Danial alayhi salam.
Armiya.
We talked about Armiya alayhi salam. We talked about Zakriya alayhi salam. And we talked about a little bit of Yahya alayhi salam. Okay, great. So that's all for today then, if you guys don't have any questions, and I will see you guys next week then.